Hi everybody. It's me, Andrew Marklet today. Expect one or at least this video and maybe maybe three videos today. Um, Probably gonna end up just doing two. I'm gonna try and see if I can find content for three. Um, but if I can't, I can't. It's whatever. No video yesterday because I worked overtime at my job and 3 hours of the overtime, I was just way too tired, and I came home way too late, and I just then had to have a serious long conversation with a friend, and I didn't want to. I just wasn't in a mood to shoot a video. I needed to sleep on what he told me, so that way I could help him with some stuff. Uh, so that's why that didn't happen. Basically, stuff came up. Anyways, let's get into this video from Leaflit and Asari, and yeah, let's watch.
They're raging over International Men's Day.
So it's pretty much been a tradition here on the channel that I make a video on International Men's Day. And that's what we're doing here in this video too. But realistically, and I think probably for most men, it's going to be the same thing. And by that, I mean, this day is not going to be any different for us than any other day. Like, we don't actually celebrate this day. It is literally just another day.
Why not?
And I'm sure the feminists are already getting ready, typing out their responses, trying to be all quirky, you know.
I'll answer that question for you. Because most men don't care about having a day for themselves. We don't need it. And it's not because every day is men's day. It's because men want to get their lives together and work. That's what we want to do.
Celebrate the patriarchy.
Saying things like, "Oh, well, that's because you celebrate Men's Day every day. Every day is Men's Day." You know, so original, so quirky. Wow. I guess in a way, it's kind of poetic that the only thing I do different on International Men's Day is.
By the way, when I say that, I know I've said that before. That like we gotta celebrate the patriarchy and like we live in the patriarchy. By the way, when I say that, I'm not joking. I actually believe that we live in the patriarchy, but like not in a feminist sense, but I actually think it's true.
To look at Twitter and Blue Sky.
In fact, I think it's almost certainly true. I think it's true basically as a fact of reality rather than it being like a idea.
I mean, she's not wrong. If you don't believe in God, I'll tell you this much. The thought process is this. If you don't believe in God, then everything operates off a dilemma of force. God can intercession and interfere on the dilemma of force. The dilemma of force is basically this. Everything in this world takes force of one kind or another. It either takes physical force or verbal force. But it's all force. That's force doctrine, basically. I'm not going to get into all the details because I'm still reading on that. Again, I've got so much reading to get done today that that's another reason why I think I'm only going to be able to produce 2 videos right now before I go start doing reading. Because I've got like 4 to 5 hours worth of reading that I got to get done today. That aside, yeah, she's right. It is a patriarchy just because, guess what, men are physically stronger. And if you're physically stronger, physical force can always overwhelm verbal force when verbal force is thrown out the window. So, that's why 90% of societies are patriarchies. Is because men have to allow physically a girl to be able to do something. That's just a fact. It's an uncomfortable fact. And it's a power that men need to understand, respect, and control. They need to self-regulate themselves. And they need to be self-responsible. It's not a bad thing, but they need to have self-control. Because if they don't have self-control, then they're just heathen monsters. And we don't want to live in a society of heathen monsters. That would suck.
Or like some kind of philosophical thing. I think it's a fact of physical reality. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it just is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. And like, that's like how the world is, basically. That's the setting of the world.
Actually blue sky nowadays. And taking a look at these things just to see how much hate men are getting on International Men's Day. And I guess if anything,
You don't
it's
know
really
about
easy
that
content.
one?
So this will be a very easy video to make. So I guess I'm thankful.
Wait, what do you mean you don't know about that one, Jimothy? I'm not making like a moral argument or like a philosophical argument. I'm making a argument of fact, as in like it is the truth of the world, basically. Until we invent, I don't know, psychic powers or something like that. It's basically it's
right.
basically the state of the world. It would be it's equivalent to me saying that like that car is red and like the car is red and like I say like, that car is red. That's literally how I see saying that we live in the patriarchy is. It's like
Agreed.
it's just a fact of like a existence basically. You mean natural order? No, I mean like literally. I mean literally because is that natural order? No, not really by natural order. I mean by existence of violence being the final force.
Force is how all solutions are handled. Violence in some force, not violence, because you can through verbal force get someone to do something through coercion, not have to do it violently. You can persuade somebody, so therefore that's a non-violent interaction and a non-violent method of force. Force was still used because you change someone from one position to another, so that is a form of force. There's, what is it? Physical force, metaphysical force, and I'm trying to remember the last one. Again, I still have to read.
Force being the final
I know there's
the final judge of everything on a physical level, basically. Well, not even just a physical level. Like actually force is the final force is everything basically in terms of like what actually makes things move, what makes things happen is force. And it is the final law and is the final everything basically stems from force, essentially. And I don't even think I'm trying to think about this. I think like the idea that force is like the final say, the final mover of everything. I
guess the third one would be verbal force. So it would be metaphysical force, physical force, and verbal force. I guess it would be the three. Because verbal force would be me persuading someone to do something. Metaphysical forces would be acts of God and things like that. And physical force would be, obviously, things of violence or using that means to do something physically.
I think that even applies so globally that I think that same rule would apply to God as well. And I think, is that true? I'm trying to work it through in my mind. I think it is true, actually. I think force is so universal.
Yeah, because God would be under the aspect of metaphysical force. That's why I put him into 3 categories.
That it would even apply to like, because if you do something that God doesn't like, God blows you up, basically. So like force would be in the end everything basically in terms of like that's how anything happens. Does that make sense? Everything comes down to force as being the final say in anything. Nothing matters without force basically. Force or implied force basically is everything. So when I say we live in the patriarchy, I mean it like that basically. And that it's just a reality. It is what it is scenario basically. I think you can redirect it to men protect also. That's what should be appreciated. No, well, okay. So yes.
This is also why self-control should be appreciated in men, and that we should seek to have men who have good self-control. And self-control should be one of the biggest things that you desire to have as a man. You shouldn't be listening to your base desires. You shouldn't be listening to just your base level things. Because self-control is a better, higher calling and a better thing to have as a man than lack of self-control in almost all aspects of your life. This is why Stoicism is at least a decent philosophy. I don't always agree with every aspect of it, but it's at least a decent philosophy, because Stoicism is a request for a high amount of self-control. It's saying that the man should have self-control in every aspect of their life is one of the fundamentals of Stoicism. So I really like Stoicism as a concept in some parts of it due to that. That's one of the bigger reasons why, again, I love Christianity. I love the Bible. The Bible constantly teaches you self-control, and it will constantly tell you of instances where people didn't have self-control, and then bad shit happened. I mean, that's a lot of the time what happened. People didn't have self-control, then bad crap happened. Whether God did it or we did it to ourselves.
You're right. You're right. Right. What I mean by we live in a patriarchy, right, is not that it's a bad thing. I'm not saying that like men rule everything and it's bad. What I'm saying is that men have the capability of force, therefore they have the ability to make the rules. And that any
Agreed.
rules that like women try to say that like they have is only because men allow it to be so. That's what I mean, basically. Is because like if men
Very Andrew
collectively, and
Wilson
this
take.
is like this goes into like
But yeah.
if you don't know what I'm talking about, like you should watch like videos by Andrew Wilson. He talks about this. It's basically a thing called force doctrine, and basically it describes reality
Yep.
in that all rights are meaningless without force. Force is literally just people saying like this is bad because we say so, and if you do anything about it, we'll fucking kill you. That's basically what it is. Does that make sense? So like
It is
if
a hard
women were
line in the
basically
sand.
like give me rights, men,
Yep.
and men were like, yeah, you know what? No, I feel like you know what I feel like? I feel like you guys are slaves. I feel like you know Handmaid's Tale. Let's like actually do that for real. There's nothing that women could do to stop it. The only thing that they can do to stop it is to beg other men to stop it. Does that make sense? That's why it's
Yeah.
a patriarchy. Do you understand the logic behind it? It's not really like a
I mean, you can see that in a society wherein they have, like, you can see that in ancient societies, and like how women's rights only started super progressing after like Christianity and stuff like that. Like, just go read, go study history. I'm gonna say it again. Go read your Bible. Go read about history. Go study history. Go see how the world got to where it is before you start making judgment calls. Again, one of the things I keep stressing, you're looking at the surface level of the pond, you need to look at the depths of the ocean. If you're not looking there, you're looking in the wrong place.
I'm not trying to make like a moral argument. I'm trying to make a argument of like this is like how the world works basically. It would be like me
Yeah.
saying that the earth is round and that lions eat zebras. It's like it's not like a it's just a fact of life basically. A good thing we have the Second Amendment. Yes, but see but here's the case, right? So say we do have the Second Amendment and women can use guns, it doesn't matter because if all of women went to war against all of men, all of women would lose. If men like ganged up basically together
And that is true, and here's the reason why, is because because that would be a long-term fighting, and men just have more endurance. We're able to physically carry more ammo. We are able to go physically longer and further distances, and able to get to positions physically faster than you. Our brains are hardwired to do more dangerous shit than you and be okay with it. And do have a higher capacity for violent pain, not endurant pain.
collectively and said, yeah, well, you know, you have guns, but so do we, and you're all becoming Handmaid's Tale slaves. There's nothing women can do about it. So basically, the point of the entire like exercise is the idea that it basically.
I mean, this is also why Christianity is such an important value to have, because Christianity says women are made in the image of God, and therefore have very special important value, just like men do.
Refutes the whole idea that men are always bad and always toxic, right? Because feminism tries to basically like bring this like sort of weird worldview that like men are super toxic and like they're the reason that
It's like a
everything's
split
fucked up in the
dichotomy.
world. But the
That,
problem
like,
is like if you say
it's
that,
men
then
versus women,
how
and
can
we
that be
should never
possible?
view the
Because
world
if
as
men
men
actually
versus
wanted
women.
those things, those savage things, if that's what men in general always wanted, then like there's no way women could stop it from happening. That basically like men.
Feminism is a shit idea purely because it tries to heavily refute the idea of self-control, and it says that men never instituted that self-control. Women made them have to have self-control, which isn't true. Men went towards self-control. You can see that through societies.
Exercise benevolence in order to actually protect the rights
Benevolence
of
is a
other
better
people that
word
like
for
they
it.
don't have to protect. Does that make sense? Do you naruhodo my point? Yeah. That's basically the argument behind the whole how we live in a patriarchy. It doesn't mean that it's like a bad thing. It just means that despite the fact that men have that power, good men choose to exercise that power in defense high morals, basically, when they don't have
choose
to.
to do good
Because if
instead of
men really
evil,
wanted, like
which is a
collectively,
better
like,
way to
if
be and a
men
better thing to
all
be.
thought, right? Because if men are such savages as like as you know, feminism wants you to believe, then why do women have rights? Like, the only reason they're gonna say, oh well, you know, women fought for the right to vote. Yeah, well, who gave that to them? So how the fuck did that happen, right? If women are the ones who fought for their ability to vote, and like women were the ones who attained that ability, how the fuck did that happen? Like, how did you? So you're telling me in a society when men have all of the power and all of the votes, you're telling me like they have no credit for like actually saying like, you know what, let's do that. That's a good idea. Like, what? Like, what? Doesn't make any sense. And you might say, well, women use the power of seduction. Well, all it would take is men to say, you know what? We don't feel like being seduced anymore.
I guess
You
she's
know
not really
what?
playing the
Fuck
video.
you. Right? Like, if a woman really was like, well, you know, I used my powers of seduction to sexually entice him to do what I want.
Well, I already proved that physical force will trump verbal force, so the powers of seduction are not as strong as the powers of physical force. Because the problem is that if you're only trying to use that to a certain level, but I get persuaded past a certain level, and then I get physical, there's not anything you can do about it. That's just a fact. This is why self-control is so important. Like, and it's one of the biggest promoters that you should have, and things that you should think about as a man.
Well, like, what's to prevent the dudes in a society where like dudes have all the power to say like all the physical power for dudes to be like, how about you just suck my dick or I kill you? How about that, huh? That's my point, basically. In general, men have had like a desire to protect the God-given rights for women and those who are weaker than them. That's been that is like basically the story of like the evolution of Western society, basically.
Yeah,
it went from
Western
being like in the original state of the world was that basically was barbarism. Like, everybody was like that, and then as like society progressed, men collectively decided that like we're gonna have rights, and you know, we're gonna make this constitution for like America, right? And it's gonna give people like these rights. And then you might say like, well, where did those rights come from? Well, the men would say, well, it comes from us. The rights come from us agreeing that they're rights, and if you want to break those rights, we'll kill you. That's how it works. Basically.
Yeah,
it's like,
not wrong.
If you don't follow the rights that we agreed that everybody has, the rights that we get from our religion, from God, if you don't do what God says, we're gonna throw you in jail and we're gonna execute you. So you better do it, basically. And that's like the only reason why rights exist. Sorry, that was a long
how
tangent.
else do you execute authority from a governmental level?
That was my Men's Day TED Talk. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
TED Talk.
Sure, I'll take that as my Men's Day gift. And now let's take a look at what they're saying, shall we?
Men have the desire to protect those who are weaker than themselves, even if they themselves are weak. Our society today has been trying to neuter the basic instinct to protect others and actively punish them for acting on them. Look at Daniel Penny. Yeah, that was bullshit.
That's true.
The Daniel Penny stuff was bullshit, yeah. Good TED Talk. When men get tired of feminist Islamic nations. Yeah, basically. Yeah, you might say like, well, you might say, well, men would never do that. Men would never take women's rights away.
Yeah, they would.
Just use our seductive powers.
Yeah, they would.
How's that working out in the Middle East? How's that working out in Africa? Curious.
Well, now I'm over on Blue Sky to take a look at this post.
That's always a viewpoint of someone who's actually never stepped foot out of Western civilization. That's always the viewpoint you can immediately tell of someone who's never looked into anything outside of Western civilization. And then you throw them outside of Western civilization and they go, oh my god, this is horrible. But then they still think that, like, Western civilization is just as bad. And it's like, no, you're a moron. Okay, you're just a moron. I've ran into it. It sucks dealing with those people.
Seeing hate right now, as mentioned, obviously. But then I see the date. It was actually yesterday. Oops. I'm a day late this year. Actually, hold on a second. It really is today, November 19th. Popbase just made their post a day early. So yeah, trying this again, Popbase said, today is International Men's Day. And we can see the top responses here are, nobody moved. And as a man, I can wholeheartedly say this is utterly unnecessary.
Fucking ingratitude.
I mean, every day is a man's day. Oh, wow. Yeah. You know, if a woman said something like this about women, they would call her a pick-me, for the record.
Yeah.
As a trans man, I kind of don't care. As a man, y'all comments are hilarious. If men want to change this reaction to Men's Day, maybe they should do things like...
By the way, the whole thing I said, by the way, about women, also applies to weak men, by the way.
Yeah, true.
Although it's a little bit harder in that case because the
Not that much harder. I'm
physical
gonna be honest
difference
with
between
you.
a weak man and
Not
a
that much
strong
harder.
man is actually less drastic than that between of like a man and a woman.
It can be pretty drastic in some cases. It can be pretty
It's actually the
drastic.
strength difference is less. It is just a different degree of it though. But a bunch of weak men could gang up on a strong man and win. It's like even on a grander scale, you would need like a lot of them. It would be easier than women revolting.
Each other accountable, be each other's support system, try to learn empathy, and recognize that the loneliness epidemic could be solved by treating other people as humans. Look, men can definitely do things better,
Wow,
but
okay.
that comment that we just read sounds like a bot comment, doesn't it? Kind
Yeah.
of ironic. Like, try to treat other people as humans, says the person who comes off like a bot. And these other, like, men in the comments there.
Actually, there's
It's
a
so
good way to
true.
explain this. Sorry. The best way to explain this is that the ball is 100% in the men's court. Does that make sense? Like if a woman seduces a man, it's still 100% in the man's court to be
Yeah, but just
seduced
the
or not.
man's-
Does that make
yeah.
sense? You're basically banking on the man actually crit failing and getting seduced in order for the woman to control him. And that like the woman herself has no say in it. Basically, you're just basically rolling the dice to like hope that the man gets seduced. Otherwise the man has total power.
Disparaging men. You know, it's different from me just being apathetic about this day. These other men are just like, oh yeah, it's every day is Men's Day. You know, they're trying to act all intellectual. Very sad thing to see. You know, these are definitely Veilguard people. Typing International Men's Day on Blue Sky gets us the pop-based post that we just read, and then we got like other top.
By the way, I just don't want like anyone to misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that women suck. Basically, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. Is that women
Yeah,
bring something
I'd
different
agree
to
to that.
society
Women don't suck.
than that. I mean, women have their own abilities that are like really overpowered.
That's why it's so important to understand again the image of God, what that is, and that yeah, under Christianity we're not equal per se. In the same aspects that everything about us is the same. We are equal because we are made in the image of God, and God has made us all different in different images and for different purposes. But because you're an image of Him, that's what makes you valuable and worthy.
But my point is just that men have the monopoly on force. That's my entire point. It doesn't have anything to do with like women being worse than men inherently. Women are worse than men at some things, and men are worse than women at some things. It's like
Agreed.
it depends on the thing, basically. Different talents. The thing is, I'm not trying to stoke a war between men and women. I'm actually doing the opposite. I actually think that men and women need each other. Men and women need each other, basically. My refutation of it is that the whole feminine notion that men are awful, and like just totally awful, savages that are like basically the fuck everything up. Because they always like to bring this up, like, oh my god, imagine society if we didn't have men. It's like, bruh.
Those
like
here,
society
such as
would suck.
Happy International Men's Day to all the incredible trans
Just like
men
it
out
would
there.
suck
Yeah,
without
it would
women.
be like society without men would be like society would have never happened. Basically, would have been fucking aborted, aborted just like the babies they want to abort. It would have been aborted in the Stone Age.
Existing.
True.
You know, only the trans men. Yeah. This one's saying Happy International Men's Day, you POSs, and celebrating
Wow.
International
It would have gone like
That's
this. It
such
would have
a-
gone. This is how it would have went, guys. It would have been like this. All the men vanish, and all the women are like looking for berries, and then they die from starvation. That would have been literally what happened. That would have been all of society. That would have been like game over. It would have been game over already. Oh, it's okay. We don't need men. We have berries, and then they would like eat berries and be like, "This isn't enough nutrition," and then just die basically.
Day by Googling boobs and punching a hole in the wall. You silly person. That's not Men's Day. That's Miskiff Day. Another beacon.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, if you had only men, it would also be aborted because it would be like the men like, we have lots of meat, yum yum yum, yum yum yum, no babies, and then like
International
society's
Men's
dead
Day. It's like, why do
basically.
you even care about
Here
these
says,
international
dude, like
days?
every
They're so
day is
dumb
basically
anyways.
International Men's Day.
Resident
Oh
Chef,
wow,
thank you so
another
much.
one.
Thank you.
Every day is
Thank you for the
International
bits.
Men's
Thank
Day
you.
in patriarchy. An actual positive comment on Blue Sky. My gosh, that's like winning the lottery. Says
Wow.
it's International Men's Day.
The
Hereby
thing is
celebrate
like,
you.
where like how is anything I'm saying wrong? How is anything I'm saying wrong? It's all just 100% true. There's like,
Yeah.
like I don't even know how you could argue against it. I feel like it's so impossible to argue against it in the same way that it's impossible to argue that like a rock is hard. You know,
I mean, yeah, I would agree with that for the most part. Again, it's so important to understand, again, that image of God thing that I talk about and I stress in a lot of videos. Just in the best way to learn about that, again, Read your Bible. I'm gonna keep pointing towards the Word, because the Word has answers and solutions. I know a lot of people are like, oh, what does an ancient textbook have to teach me? A lot. Okay? History can teach you a lot. You just have to think above a, like, oh, well, this happened fucking level about it, okay? That's the thing, okay? That's the real secret to all of this. Is if you think above a, oh, okay, that happened level when it comes to history, and you think about the cause and effect that this had on things, then history actually gets more interesting. You just have to think about things for more than 3 seconds. I know that's really hard for people, but I promise you, if you do that, and you also then do things like read your Bible and other texts, you get a really good brain. And you can do a lot with that really good brain.
That hard rock is hard, basically. It's anyway.
International Men's Day and Patriarchy. An actual positive comment on Blue Sky. My gosh, that's like winning the lottery. Says, it's International Men's Day. Hereby celebrate you. Now, I joke, but
Nice.
obviously there's also a bunch of hate comments on Twitter too, and places like Reddit and stuff. It's not just Blue Sky. But the Blue Sky containment zone has definitely made it easier to find those sort of comments all in one spot.
Yeah, it's a pre-filtering
Nevertheless,
system.
the last comment we
I'm
read...
telling you, chat, all of these people would have gotten naturally selected out like 100 years ago. It's actually like their
try like
existence is
50.
actually proof that society has succeeded. Brother Red Rack, thank you so much for the bits. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's actually the proof of the greatness of society is that these people are allowed to bitch and complain because they would be dead 100 years ago.
Was actually positive. So shouts out to the women out there, the ladies who are not acting all, spiteful and whatnot about this day, which takes us to a bit of duality. Happy International Men's Day to trans.
That's like my new favorite insult, like the one that I said to that one guy before, that like your existence is a testament to the greatness of society because basically they wouldn't exist.
That is a really mean one to throw at people. She's totally right. That's a really good mean one to throw at people is your existence is a testament to the greatness of society. I gotta keep that one in mind, bro. I gotta keep that one in mind, bro. I gotta keep that one in mind. That's a good gamer insult right there. That's a gamer level insult. If you don't know what I mean, I like to be creative with my insults to people that I get mad with in video games. I have called Zitz people before ignoramuses and other creative words because, I don't know, it's just more fun for me to insult someone in that way when I'm mad.
Like 500 years ago, they'd be dead. They would have gotten like eaten by like a fucking shark.
And again, this is also what I meant by like, there's a reason why I also stress Romans 3:10 through 18 is because I know I'm not a good person. That's something I need to work on. But like I said, I'm not a good person. I'm working on it. But man, that's a really hard one for me to work on.
Or something like they would have died of starvation 500 years ago. All of these people. And because society is so great, they're allowed to live. They should be grateful.
And cis men who would introduce their
Usagi Kenpo, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for this sub. Thank you.
trans girlfriend to their mums only. Pretty weird obsession that person has with trans people. But right below that,
Was
for
that the
International
M1
Men's Day, we're
Grand
gonna
Ping?
hug every international man I see. So a positive comment, and then we're right back to the typical stuff you'd expect. Anyway,
Wait, hold on, wait, what? Okay, for International Men's Day, I'm gonna hug every international man I see. Happy International, also kind of weird, but Happy International Men's Day, though mostly assholes. What?
though mostly arseholes.
I don't even know if that's like
what's the X
real.
for? Anyways, you get the point. We could be here like all day taking a look at these sort of comments. There are plenty more, but like I said, I think you get the point. So I'll leave it there. Hope you guys are having a great week, though. And thank you all for tuning in.
Oh,
Comments and in the
Chibi bought her dad flowers. She's such a good girl. Good for her. W Chibi. That's so nice of her. I'm glad she cares about her father and shows her father respect like you should in the Bible.
next one.
This is another Men's Day one, right? Should we look at that? I thought I saw that. I saw that like in the chat that
I
there
literally
was like,
just made a video about Blue Sky.
Here we go.
Blue Sky crashing
it's a
out
short little
at
video,
International
so
Men's Day,
can
saying all
react
the
to
the
this one as well.
continuation.
And
Two
then I go to
reactions,
Twitter and I
one
see a set
video,
of
let's
tweets here
go!
from Chibidoki.
Farming
She
them
said,
clips.
"Happy Men's Day," and then I'm buying my dad flowers today. And then the follow-up saying, Some people have been getting mad at me for these tweets, and I'm genuinely sorry if I offended anyone. I just want to appreciate my dad and my male friends who mean a lot to me.
Wait, what did
This
people
isn't
get
a
mad
jab at
at?
anyone or anything. I really...
Because people will get mad over everything. And don't say sorry, Chibi. It's not a bad thing to honor thy father and honor thy mother. You're supposed to honor both. People are just stupid and cranky because their dads left for the milk and never came back.
promise. I just want to say something nice. Bro, what...
Sorry, that was pretty harsh, but like, again, I've got bad habits, people. I apologize. Just really hard not to go there, man. It's really hard.
kind of loser
They make it so easy.
creep do you have to be to get
What
mad
did they
at
say?
frickin' these tweets? Happy Men's Day, I'm buying my
hope
dad
he shows
flowers,
it.
and people actually got mad at her. That's actually crazy. Seems like a lot of those people already deleted their comments after they got called out, but
course
here's
they
one that I
did,
was
rats.
Good.
Person
Fucking
laughs
roaches.
and says, men get a whole day for what? And some of the responses include, for tolerating
Men get a whole ass day for what? For not aping out and killing you. That's what
Yeah,
it's for.
I was about to
That's
say.
SMH, bro.
what?
For
Some of the
having
responses include, for tolerating
self-control.
trash like you
Because
and...
self-control's that
True.
awesome.
Well, as
So
mentioned,
true.
it seems like most of the hate comments got deleted after Chibi called them out. However, like I said earlier, back over on Blue Sky, Pop Base posted that today is International Men's Day, and
Wow.
they were met with a barrage of comments like
Dude,
this.
it's so crazy. This goes into a whole thing of like how
Just
crazy
wild.
and wild it is that the definition of bad things has been warped beyond recognition. Right? It's like something like sexism or like racism. Those things have been warped beyond recognition. Like I don't
Yep.
even know what racism and sexism even means anymore. Because these
Yeah, and it's
people
awful.
will
It's
claim
really
like,
horrible
oh,
that it's been done.
okay to be sexist against men, and that's how they'll act. Or you know, the same people who are like, oh, racism is bad. Those same people will be like, yeah, racism is bad, but you know what? Fuck white people. Sexism is bad. All the sexism against women is bad, but fuck men. Like it's so what? What the fuck? It's like, oh my god, dude. Imagine being white and a man, Leaf, dude. It's so crazy. What does it even mean anymore? Nothing means anything anymore. All of the definitions, like language.
Oh, there is something that means something. His name is Jesus Christ, and there's the Bible. Read those. You'll learn a lot. They're really good for you. Highly recommend it. That's where I'm going to leave this video at for today. I will catch you guys later. Thanks. Have a good one. Remember to like, subscribe. God bless.